Everybody, good evening everybody. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's peace and blessings be upon each and every one of you. Jazakallah khair for attending and sacrificing your evening today here for this cause. Some of us are sat at the front, some of us are sat there, some of us have got the favourite back of the classroom seats out there in the back. But just remember one thing, although we may be sat in different places, all of us today, we're all here equal together for a just cause. And actually there was a couple of brothers that asked they'd like to say a few words. And actually, given the cause today, seriously, if anybody wants to say a few words, just express a few emotions, the floor is yours, the mic is yours, there's no problems. My name is Ashraful Alam. I know many of you, and I'm a local lad. I've lived in Keighley all my life. I got a call from Razak, literally just asking if I could just help just chair the meeting today. That's all it is. I'm not going to take any credit to any of the organising. Alhamdulillah, those of us that have received the probably 101 messages from Razak throughout, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your efforts, honestly man. Honestly, you really, your passion, your commitment, your drive to do something for whatever the cause might be, whether it's the plight of the Palestinians, whether it's what we're here to talk about today, the Rohingyans, whether it's feeding the hungry and the homeless here in Bradford. Alhamdulillah, you do a lot, Razak, and you are a gem in Keighley. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, big round of applause everybody, seriously. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. So today's event, like I said, I am literally here as just to try and help see if I can facilitate the conversation. I'd like to really a warm and heartfelt welcome to our honourable guests that we have today. On my left here we have our Honourable MP for Keighley, John Grogan, who's been quite active and very involved in meeting and engaging with many of us. We have to my right Joe O'Keefe, who works for John and is his aide, and similarly, you know, kind of working alongside John to support. We have Mohammed Nazem, also our Keighley Town Mayor, as many of you will know. And also we have Brother Adnan Hussain from the Drive for Justice organisation. Now, Drive for Justice and One Vision are the two organisations that have effectively come together to try and do something in and amongst all the different things that are happening. We all know, we've seen videos, and I really mean it from the heart, that some of the videos when we see it, of the brutality, of the massacre, of the living genocide that is happening in this day and age right in front of us. You know, in Bosnia these things happened during the 40s. The Jewish community suffered immensely from persecution, and you know, the sad truth is it's happening in this day and this time, and right in front of us. The pictures of innocent men, women, children being buried alive, being burned alive is no simple matter. It's significant, and I guess you know that, and it's why you're here today. Today really is yet another opportunity for us as a community, as a people, not to see this gathering as anything small or insignificant, but actually something really powerful. On that day of Akhirah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to ask us in the court of Allah that when the people of Burma were being massacred, where were you? And inshallah, we should all be able to hold our heads up high and respond back that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at least we attended today. Yeah, at least we attended today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over in a moment for a couple of short addresses, just some key messages from our honoured guests, and then shortly what we will do is we'll just have a discussion about the effort that we've come here to talk about and how we hopefully want to see it go. So like I said, I'm just going to remind you, if anybody wants to say a few words, the mic is there for you all. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over now to our Keighley MP, John Grogan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll just move around here. Thank you. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. And thanks again for making the effort to come out tonight, and in a cause that is just, and this is what democracy is about really. A couple of weeks ago, Many people in the room helped keep Keighley safe and peaceful under enormous provocation from the EDL, and that was a time when we were saying, take a deep breath, look the other way, in the long-term interest of Keighley. Tonight the message is very different. Tonight we've got to make a loud voice, and I've been trying to do that in Parliament. So I want to talk about three things really tonight. I want to talk about the history of this, because it's worth talking about, because you've got to put this in context. It didn't come out of nowhere, did this crisis. And I want to talk about what we can do about it and what you can do about it. And I just want to conclude with some of the words of some of the people who are involved on the other side of the world and suffering greatly. So we've heard a lot recently, haven't we, about partition and the origins of India and Pakistan, and then later Bangladesh. And this goes back in that... sorry, is it feeding back? Shall I just... So this goes back to that period in our history, in the history of the world. And Burma became independent a year after India and Pakistan became independent in 1948. For 60 years, all had been ruled together under the British Raj. The whole thing had been ruled together. And the Burmese people resented that. The Rohingyas have a history that goes back long before the British Raj. Don't just let anybody say that they came in from Bangladesh, less than 100 years ago. Many of them have got a history that goes back centuries and centuries that have been established over the past. Some came in when the British moved people around under the Raj. Is it back on now? It's back on, yeah. So some came in at that period. And after, for the first 20 years of Burmese independence, things went well. There was a healthy democracy there. Aung San, who was the father of this woman who's the president now, Aung San Suu Kyi, he was a great Democrat, and there was many Rohingyas who were in the Burmese parliament. And then things began to go wrong in the 60s. The army took over, we came to a dictatorship, and as many times when there's a dictatorship, when the dictatorship is in trouble, they start blaming. They're trying to find someone to blame. And so gradually the Rohingyas lost more and more rights. They couldn't go, they lost rights to health care, they lost rights to go, for the kids to go to school. Ultimately, they even lost the right to vote some years ago. So the situation got worse and worse and worse. And then the army used the excuse of some terrorist attacks on the border then to massively overreact and start burning villages, really. 40% of the villages of the Rohingya have gone. 400,000 people, that's about a third of the entire population, is going over the border into Bangladesh. And it is what the United Nations Secretary General, who's a Portuguese chap called Guterres, he was asked this morning, is it ethnic cleansing? And he said, well, what other word is there for it than ethnic cleansing? So it's a real massive, compared with the numbers of people who've died in the terrible storms in the United States, it's much huger than that, much bigger in terms of human suffering. And there have been some good journalists, I've been watching Justin Rowlatt of the BBC, who's over there, who've been trying to get it up the news agenda and trying to get the world concerned about it. And that's when I come to now what we can do about it, because I think there's a lot we can do about it, and there is some signs of hope that the world is beginning to wake up to this. Next week, the United Nations General Assembly happens in New York, and that just happens once a year, so all the leaders from around the world are invited to come to New York, and they give speeches. So that is an opportunity. That's why whatever we do, whether we're marching in Manchester or whether we're doing it in London, or this is the weekend to do it, to get every newspaper and radio station in the world to get it on their agenda. So as the leaders of the world meet next week, they'll do something about it. And we've heard a lot about the divisions between India and Pakistan and Bangladesh in recent years. But one good thing that's happened this week is, after some hesitation, Pakistan were quick in there condemning the massacres of the Rohingyas. Bangladesh obviously a very poor country, desperately trying to cope with 400,000 people, feeding them, clothing them, really great hospitality from many ordinary Bangladeshis. But India, after some hesitation, has now started condemning the Burmese government as well, and that is vital in that area, because India is the country that is nearest, obviously, to Bangladesh and most able to get aid into Bangladesh quickly, and so it's India's move is to be welcomed. And for once, we've got all the major countries in that area lined up. I've put down a motion in Parliament with others calling on for aid quickly to that area, but also there's a massive disappointment in Aung San Suu Kyi that she's said nothing. I mean, she should at the very least be calling for that area to be opened up and international aid to be allowed in, journalists to be allowed in as well. But the military men, that we need to lists of those military men. There need to be sanctions against them and their assets. There need to be evidence gathered for war crime possible trials and so on in the future. So a really tough line has got to be taken against the people, the generals who've got the power to stop this massacre, and they're the power that we've got to put pressure on. So I'm a great believer in doing whatever you can wherever you are, and that's why there's a very important event in Manchester at the weekend, and I hope many of you will go to that if you can. There was a bus went down from Keighley to London last week, so whatever you can do, or raise it in the community, go on social media about it, anything you can do to raise the profile of this, because this next week, when the United Nations is meeting, is the crucial week, really. If something doesn't happen next week, you're just looking at the destruction of an entire people, a people, as I say, with a great history in that part of the world, the Rohingyas. And it gets down to a very human thing, doesn't it? Because when I'm talking about 400,000 people, it's hard to personalise it. But there's one particular bloke who I read about. His name is Mohammed. He's 33. He's a farmer, a Rohingya on the border there. And he told the BBC his story that basically his village, the soldiers came in, began the massacre. He lost his brother. He had to carry his mother, who's disabled, for days to get over the border. He's illiterate because they're not allowed to go into education, the Rohingyas. He's now over in Bangladesh. He says he'd love to go back if he could, and that's his ultimate ambition, to go back. But he says, my message to the world is that humans are the same wherever they are. Religions do not make us different. Buddhists have flesh and blood just like we do. So if they live peacefully and freely in Myanmar, why can't we? We are all the same and equal. And that's Mohammed's message to us all, very, very powerfully put. So I'll do whatever I can do in Parliament, and I've been trying to do that this week. And in fact, one initiative that parliamentarians have taken from round Europe is that we've all signed a motion, not just in the British Parliament, but MPs are signing it throughout Europe for this United Nations meeting to try and make it more powerful. And full credit to One Vision, full credit for Drive for Justice, and thank you for everyone who's organised tonight's meeting. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, John, ever so much, and in particular for your activism in putting forward and signing those motions and keeping that agenda high on the agenda within Parliament and the broader government. I'm now going to invite Mohammed Nazim, as Mohammed Nazim, or you may wish to speak as Town Councillor, but essentially in relation to the cause as well.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm just here tonight. I got told about this from Razik about 3 o'clock. So I'm here tonight as Muhammad Nazim just to stand together against this. The Prophet ﷺ, there is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ says that the best of those people are one, if you see injustice, you should with your strength and power stop it. The second, if you can't do that, you should speak against it. And the least, if you can't do that, at least in your heart, condemn it. At least tonight we are all here to speak against the atrocities against Rohingya Muslims. There would have been a lot of people here tonight, but unfortunately, as we all know, there's been a young death in Keighley of a young lad, which is a tragic loss to the whole community. But thank you very much for one vision and the drive for justice, for organising this. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Jazakallah Muhammad Nazim. Are we expecting Masim? Shall we hang on? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we were going to put Adnan Hussein towards the end because it introduces the campaign and this particular effort. It's quite a unique effort from what I understand. So I've got the various text messages and the information that Razak has sent round. There's an element I understand, obviously you'll hear more detail about it, but it's really sending the message locally, sending the message collectively from Manchester and letting it echo throughout the country, you know, right through the corridors of power in Westminster and wherever it might be. You know, what I would say is that whilst these efforts right down to that local level might seem small, it's not. It really isn't. You know, keeping the agenda high up there is crucial. So I'm going to hand over to Adnan Hussein, inshallah, just to say a few words in relation to the campaign.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all listeners. I thank you for inviting me here today, and as a representative of Drive for Justice and as the current chair of Drive for Justice, it's an honour to come to Keighley and speak in front of not only the community but also John the MP and member of the local council. What's happening with the Rohingya community is a matter for all of us as human beings to stand up loud and clear and tell the world that we care and we believe in humanity as a collective. The truth is, the Rohingya people, their women have been raped, their daughters have been raped, their children have been butchered, their elders have been put on fire, set alight, their homes have been emptied, their businesses have been stopped, education is no more. Being able to stand in a position of authority is not possible. 90% of the Rohingya community is illiterate because of the Myanmar regime does not allow them to go into education. 60% of the hundreds and thousands of refugees who are fleeing from the Myanmar security forces into Bangladesh, 60% are children, and many of them not coming with their parents. 60% of the ones that are fleeing from Myanmar are children. A member of UNICEF today, Simon, he said, I met a 3-year-old without his mother or father, trying to cross from Myanmar into Bangladesh. Then he met another 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, children holding hands walking into Bangladesh. And he tried to speak to them, yet they couldn't speak because of the trauma. They tried to give them pens so they could draw out what they saw, yet they were not drawing. They were not speaking, they were not drawing because of the trauma that they saw within Myanmar. This is the reality of what's happening in Myanmar. The reality is we're asleep. The silence is deafening. Nobody really cares. We were silent when it was Iraq. We saw a massacre of hundreds of thousands of people over there. We're silent when it came to Syria. We were silent when it came to Libya. We are silent when it came to Yemen. And we are still silent when it comes to the Rohingya community. Bangladesh is not doing enough. Bangladesh is not doing enough. The borders are being closed. The refugees are fleeing from the torture of the Myanmar security forces, yet the borders in Bangladesh are closed. India, the Rohingya community is going into India. What's happening over there? They escaped from torture and they're coming into torture again. a lot of the Rohingya community are being tortured in India too. And what is Pakistan doing? A few words condemning something like this is not enough. When you are in a position of authority, words are not enough. Pressure needs to be applied. Pressure of the international community. Brothers, you know, it's all good staying in Keighley. It's all good living in the UK, in the comforts of our houses, being big men outside. But the fact is, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to speak up about what's happening with the mothers and sisters in Myanmar. We have a responsibility to speak up with regards to the brothers that are being butchered and tortured in Myanmar. With regards to the children that are traumatized without their parents that are coming into Bangladesh. We have a duty to speak up, shout it, scream it, tell your neighbors about it, tell your friends about it. Because the truth is, together, united, forget about your differences. It doesn't matter what mosque you come from or what church you go to. Forget about your differences, because this ain't about the Muslims, this ain't about the Hindus, this ain't about the Sikhs, this ain't about the Jews, it ain't about the Buddhists, it's about human beings. And today I'm standing in an area which is owned by the mosque. And Islam, I guarantee you, Islam speaks about human beings first, not Muslims. Christianity speaks about human beings first, not Christians. Religious or not religious, we have to unite together, and this has to come to an end. Graphical images on your WhatsApp, graphical images on your Facebook, are we becoming desensitive to these images? Are we ignoring the plight of the Rohingya community? What's happening to us, brothers? What's happening to us? What day and age are we living in? These are the kind of stories that we used to hear, what we used to read within the history books. Rwanda, we thought it was history, yet it's happening again in front of us. Are we going to go down in history that we never did nothing? We never spoke up? Your MP is here, congratulate him. However, is this going to be 1 day or 2 days or 3 days? Or are you going to continue the pressure and ensure your MP continues speaking? Are you going to continue the pressure on social media so that the media does not stop speaking about the plight of these people? Today it's them. Tomorrow it could be us. It could be us. Imagine it was our daughters. Imagine it was our mothers who were being raped in front of our eyes, yet we couldn't do anything. It's happening. It's happening with the Rohingya community. It could happen to us. Silence is a war crime, and don't be complicit within that war crime. Make sure you stand up. Make sure you take this seriously. Because I'm telling you, if it's them today, it could be us tomorrow. So we need to start speaking up. However we can, start speaking up. And as a united, as a collective, don't look at who's going to which mosque. Don't look at which person is of which religion. Don't look at if the person is a female or a male. Unite. Use your intellect. I'm telling you, we can do this. Malcolm X fought for the rights of the black people, and before Donald Trump, what did we see? Barack Obama, a black man as the president of the United States of America. At that time, could they have imagined that he would have become the president? Start today. Begin your movement. Wake your people up. Our communities are asleep. We're a shambles. Wake your communities up. It's a must. It's an obligation. It's falls upon us, every single one of us, to stand up, speak up, say something. And yes, of course, I was invited today to tell you about the protest that's taking place in Manchester. That's not even a scratch on the surface, the protest. However, it's a step towards the right direction. I can't do this on my own. You can't do this on your own. Collectively, we can. Unite forces. You have some great brothers over here in Keighley. You have some great leaders that have decided to take their time out and support this worthy cause. Use these people. Use the people who are willing to speak up, stand up, and fight against this injustice. Do you think nobody listens to us? This myth about the fact that if you go to a demonstration, nobody will listen to you? This myth about the fact that just stay at home and make dua and do nothing? This is crazy. We are powerful together. We are not voiceless. We are not sheep. We can become lions if we want to, but not as individuals, as a collective. We'll make the walls of Parliament shake if we have to, not by violence, through our masses. We'll make the powers to be shiver at night if we have to, but not as individuals, as collective, as a collective. Leave your pride and egos at home and join this worthy cause. We have to stand up. We have to stand up. We have to stand up as a united, as a collective. And I've been doing these talks every single day for 9 days. Literally, the sleep has been 2 or 3 hours. How can we sleep when people are being murdered and raped, and when we have access to the same footage on our WhatsApp and Facebook? Are we cowards? What kind of people are we? Brothers, come on. Wake up. Wake up. Be united. Use your intellect. We can fight this. These people in Rohingya, the Rohingya community, deserve their identity back. They're not even recognized in Bangladesh. They're not recognized in their own country, hence the reason for why they're fleeing. They're not recognized in Pakistan if they go to Pakistan. They are not recognized if they go into India. They are not recognized. We need to give their identity back. We need to give their rights back. And we need to wake ourselves up. We need to bring our humanity back out. When you go home today and when you sleep, contemplate on my words. Contemplate on my words. And if at least one brother stands up for the rights for other people, my job is done over here. But if I go away and none of you think about the plight of the Rohingya community, or if anything happens in Syria if you don't stand up, or in fact, because we're in a mosque here, if the person is a non-Muslim, if the person is a Christian, and if you do not stand up, you are not doing your duty. You are not doing your duty as Muslims and as a human being first. Stand up, whoever it is, whether there is injustice, stand up, speak up, fight against it. So I invite you all to join us on the protest this Sunday on the 17th. I understand there's a convoy from Keynote coming over to Blackburn. There's convoys throughout the northwest, West Yorkshire, coming and joining us in Manchester. Bring your friends. Make sure this doesn't come into some, show off my car and loud music within the vehicles. Make sure that we have this as proper activism. This is a form of civil disobedience, just a small part, just so we can raise the profile about what's happening. And when we come to the demonstration, take some responsibility. Make sure if the person next to you isn't focusing, he's then doing injustice to the cause. Make sure that everybody you bring with you is there for the cause and nothing but the cause. And the demonstration, this is one form of activism. Begin to boycott the Myanmar government. Begin to boycott their products. Begin to boycott their country. Begin to boycott their websites. Take over their reviews on social media. Go to our page on Drive for Justice and we'll tell you how to begin the boycott process. And don't be fooled. Boycott can take down big corporations. Boycott can take down entire economies. We've seen it in the past and we'll see it today again, inshallah, once we all begin this boycott process. We need to stand up. We need to speak up. Because once again, I told you, silence is a war crime. We need to speak up against these injustices. Are you with me? Are you with me? On the day, George Galloway will come and speak. Members of Parliament, including Naz Shah and your own MP, will come and speak. Imran Hussain will come and speak. Jeremy Corbyn, from what I understand, his office wanted him to come down and speak. But unfortunately, he has prior commitments. He's releasing or in the process of releasing a video to support this. There's many other organizations that are supporting this cause. I'd like you all, the names are just too much. This event is a big event. We want to show the members of Parliament that we care about this cause. And we want to show them that we'll continue coming out and speaking up against injustice. We'll continue doing it until there's change. And if you don't already realize, but we've already got some few results within the United Nations, within this country, members of Parliament and Parliament are speaking up, is because collectively we're showing that we care. So on Sunday, let's make this a success. Let's show our MPs, let's show the world that we care. Members of the Rohingya community will be there too. Let's give them some hope as well and let them know that we care too. People from all over the northwest, like I've already said, I understand people, a convoy from Halifax is coming, from Keighley is coming, from Rochdale, Oldham, Leeds, Dewsbury, Blackburn, all over, convoys are coming, people are coming to support this cause. I'm here not for myself, not for anybody else, but the cause. I hope you bring yourselves, your families, your women too, because once again we're in a mosque here. Let me tell you, the Prophet fought wars with women next to him. Bring your women too. They have intellect, they have a way to go forward and help the cause as well. Bring your neighbors, bring your family, whoever you can. Show that you care. And after the protest, it's not the end, it's the beginning. So I pray that you all come and help the cause, and I pray that you pray for me that I continue to help the cause as well. I'll have to leave now because we've got another meeting to attend, and I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Adnan Hussain. A really powerful, uplifting and quite emotional reminder.
Sorry, I forgot. If there's any questions, you can ask me any questions about the cause, about what's going on. You can ask me questions about the protest, the convoy. Any questions you have, sorry? He's a great brother. He's doing a lot of work for this cause. If I go and you have further questions, I'm sure you'll put them forward too. Thank you.
Once again, Jazakallah, Brother Adnan Hussain, for a really powerful, uplifting, quite emotional speech, and a really poignant reminder in terms of our responsibility, but also the oppression and the oppression and the devastation may be targeted towards the Muslim community. But you know, the show today, but the message is that the response isn't just from the Muslim community. It's all of us standing up together against oppression, against injustice as human beings. So at the start of the session meeting today, I did say that do you know something? If you want to express any thoughts, any views, these are not about facts, these are just about how you feel. The mic is yours now, the floor is yours, the opportunity is there. I'd just like to, just before we do that, just take this one very quick opportunity to thank once again our MP John Grogan for supporting us today, and also Joe Keefe for supporting us today. A huge thank you on behalf of us all. Big round of applause. Thank you. So I'm going to once again offer it back to you guys, or we can do it this way. So what I'll do is, you've all seen Razak's text messages. So you've all seen the text messages. Let me just quickly run through what the plan is. So the plan is, so the plan is, at 11 o'clock on Sunday, there's a get-together outside Victoria Hall. It's really difficult to kind of go through this when there's different conversations. So I'm just going to politely ask you guys if you guys just pay attention. What is it, an interview? Okay. Alright, okay, I'll stop. Now I'll stop, I'll wait. Look, he's good message, let's leave it clear. It's good message, isn't it? We started late, you see. But today is a special focus. Are you going, Yakub? Guys, where are you going? Come back, come back.